We're very excited and grateful to have Leah Rifqa Savage with us today. Rifqa is passionate about bringing peace and healing to the world. She is a founder of Complementary Healing for Everyone. As an Oriental medicine practitioner, she combines mind, body, and spirit medicine together to create deep and lasting health and wellness. Through her work as a minister and pastoral counselor, Rifqa facilitates a deeper knowing of ourselves, our relationship to divinity, creating lasting transformation and peace within. Leading workshops and retreats for her patients, she provides a rich environment for like-minded individuals who aspire to grow and learn together. She spent many years in event planning and coordinating across the country, as well as hosting several teachers and events locally. She has written about peace and peacemaking, as well as leading a weekly teleclass entitled Becoming Peace. Her teaching today is Humility as the Gateway to Love. Rifqa, welcome, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Abdullah, for having me and for inviting me to come and speak to your community. I feel very blessed. This is the first time that I've ever done a Zoom teleconference, and it's very exciting. And I'm so happy to feel everybody's hearts. And I feel so honored to be here with all of you today. I hope that you're all doing well and that your walking has been beautiful. And I look forward to connecting with all of you in person at some point. Anytime one of you has a question, I believe it is *2 to raise your hand. I'm not sure what it is on Zoom, but feel free to just do *2. And when I take a break, Abdullah, if you could just let me know in one of the break between paragraphs or sentences, that would be great. I'd like for this to be as interactive as possible. And I welcome feedback and comments along the way. So it's humbling just beginning the teleconference. Humility is something that I believe is incredibly important for our walking towards divinity, as well as for our opening our hearts to each other and to our beloveds, to our children, to the people who are across from us at the grocery store. I feel like without the ability for us to move into this space, we would keep ourselves very detached and self-centered and very much moving from ourself and our nafs and the part of us that is our lower consciousness. So when I was praying on the presentation, and I received a download from God, from the light, to really bring these teachings out on humility. And I really could see that humility is a true bridge that can bring us even more deeply into proximity with God, with divinity. And I thought, my goodness, how many times have I, in retrospect, reflected on a situation and realized that I really may not have been as humble or merciful as I could have been. And how we strive to embody and embrace humility in every moment, but it's not something that we normally think about first when we think about our walking to God. And so there have been a lot of regrets that I feel we have when we may not be as open to considering the depth of how to be humble, and that it can be very painful. And even the process of being humble can have a certain element of pain in it. I know some of you here are people who are students of mine that are new to the path, or friends of mine that don't know much about the path. And Um, and part of the Sufi path is really about bowing and surrendering and opening our hearts to um, to receive a closer proximity with the divine through a surrender that's very humble, and where we're releasing our ego as much as we can, and where we're um, moving into our hearts in a deeper way to really ask and invite the divine spirit to sit in our hearts and to be with us and to be guiding us. And as I was saying, that can be very painful at first. When we decide that we want to move from ourself to the divine, we realize that there's a part of us that has to die, and that part of us is the part of us that is in self-guidance, the part of us that's in self-direction, the part of us that says, we know what the truth is. I know what the truth is, and I want to do it my way, and it's my way or the highway, which can be an extreme example, but we are very, very, very attached to our perception of our knowing. And even when we're more advanced on the path, we're even so attached to our perception of our knowing of Allah and what that is and how Allah comes to us, sometimes to the exclusion of being able to deepen our walking in a faster way. And so it's interesting because humble just means the state of being humble. And it means that we adopt a kind of modesty and a kind of meekness and unassuming attitude where we're striving to release lordship and self-direction. So when we're moving through the stations and we're walking deeply with our teachings and we're going more and more and more deeply with the hearts of our teachers, it's so important to remember that we don't know, we still don't know, we never know, and to get to that place of a beginner's mind again and again and again and again. And when we are able to embrace that state of beginner's mind, we begin to experience deepening levels of reality that bring us closer to the divine, and that helps us to move from lordship, which is when we're in control, along that spectrum to the divine. And when we do this, and as we struggle with this, as we struggle with this, I feel like there's a way that we can learn to really love and open to being humble. We can really deeply embrace humility and bow even to the concept of humility, and then to the light of humility, and then asking Allah for each of us, what would humility look like? So as we go through this process, we awaken in our hearts to a deeper gnosis of love, a deeper gnosis of God. And it's almost like humility starts to allow for the expression of love to be unfolded in the moment. And for example, when we are in a state of not knowing, and we are at the checkout line, and we are no longer as much with ourselves, we're moving more from that place of opening to this sacred, spiritual, beautiful garden that we're surrendered to in a really deep, vulnerable place inside. We can look at the person who is at the cash register differently. And on a different level, we might be in our mind, or we might be thinking, okay, we're going to get gas after this, and then we have to go to Home Depot, and then we need to go home and quickly cook dinner for our families. And then on another level, we might be saying, oh my gosh, these people, they're in line, they're taking so much time up. When, this person's so slow. And then we go to a deeper level and we really bow and we say, okay, what is God showing us in this moment? A new quality can open and manifest in this moment. A quality comes and opens and manifests when we have that humility inside of our being, when our arrogance starts to become a little smaller and our humility starts to open and blossom like a flower. And then we might start noticing things about the people around us, like this person is joyful or this person is sad. And we might make a deeper connection with the person who is checking us out and say, oh, we might notice that somebody needs to have the honor quality brought to him. So the light changes and we feel like, oh my goodness, that person, he just needs to be honored right now. He just needs somebody to say, you're doing a really beautiful job and you're so fast. You're so good at this. They're so lucky to have you. There's so many ways that the light moves through us and changes moment to moment as we are moving with these qualities inside of our hearts. So our experience of love in every moment ends up being majestic, and we are humbled because we are open to receiving what God is wanting to bring us and what God is wanting to arise in the moment for us. And even when my computer wasn't working, I kept breathing, saying Astaghfirullah, what is God making? It's interesting to have to be present praying into the computer to hope that it will work. So every moment is about connection. Every moment is an opportunity, especially the moments that are hard, where we do want to throw our computer out the window. Every moment is an opportunity to connect more deeply instead and say, I will go deeper. I'll give this moment an opportunity for me to open my heart to be with the divine and to see what the divine is asking. And in my case, I realized, I didn't get the light ready. So the few minutes that my computer wasn't working, when I stopped and I took a deep breath and I prayed, I thought, oh, the light, that without this light, nobody would really see me, was still standing, not sort of close to the screen. So, alhamdulillah, Allah knew what was needed in order for you guys to be able to have a better picture and a better image. So I have something here that I drew. Oh, whoops. And maybe you won't be able to see it because maybe it'll be too light. Well, I guess you'll have a little. Oh, sorry. So you can't see this bird. Why doesn't? Because my bird is really small, but she's very loud. So I thought she was asleep, or else I would have had a different. Oh, quiet now. You're okay. You're okay. It's okay. She's usually really quiet. So here I have a picture, and basically we have humility and divine love here. We have ourselves, and then almost like a unity drawing between our hearts and God and love. And this is a humility bridge that helps us to bow deeper. And humility brings wisdom. And whenever we have an event that is difficult or an experience that is painful, we are usually humbled or feel like it's a possibility to have a very humbling experience. So we have a couple of choices. If we have a lot of pride, then with too much, I, I think somebody's
Yeah,
unmuted.
I'll take care of it.
Honey, it's okay. Thanks. When we have too much pride, we basically are coming from a place of, I know what's right, and I know the difference between right and wrong, and there is right and there is wrong, and these are very concrete, absolute truths. And then it's like we can become unmovable. And so when we are this way, even if we think we're right, or in level, even if we are right, what happens is we lose our chance to receive the gifts that God is bringing to us through this experience. We lose our chance to receive the forgiveness, the wisdom, the guidance, the knowledge, and the lessons, and many more gifts. So even in advanced walking, even when we've been in any spiritual paradigm, even when we've all been walking for 20 years or 1 year or in another path for 50 years, if we really look inside and we are really honest with ourselves, we will see that we still struggle sometimes with this, where our minds are like little computers and we have a little program that is putting things in categories, and they're categorizing what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, and this experience taught me these lessons. And once we surrender more deeply, we remember we have an opportunity to choose that we can go deeper, and we can open our hearts to move into a deeper place of gnosis with divinity. And when we do that, then we move over to this side where we return to God, and where we start to have an opportunity to release our pride, to transmute our pride into humility and divine love, which really allows us to receive in the quiet place in our hearts the divine qualities. And so just sit with that for a moment, that the divine qualities awaken in the moment. And we have our qualities from ourselves, and we have our qualities from that are illuminated by our higher consciousness and by the divine. And when we really go deeply, in every single moment, it's like a quality is opening, a quality of God. And it has a beginning, and then it blossoms into the full expression of its quality, and then it starts to have an ending. And sometimes there's a space but usually there's another quality that's immediately opening, kind of like the swells of the ocean water in the sea. We're riding the waves of God's qualities as they pass through us. And it's almost like the matrix. It's like a background energy of qualities that's moving through us all the time, vibrating, spinning, and opening and closing, and giving us possibilities to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And so when the great part of remembering to embrace humility and to be thankful for it is that we have a chance to become more conscious of what's happening with God and with ourselves and with the situation. We have more of an opportunity to live fully and richly with our qualities, and we have an opportunity to bow more deeply, to surrender, and allow for God's wisdom to open inside of us and God's knowledge to open inside of us. We have a really different experience of reality as we practice this, and as we return over and over and over and over and over again. So it's a beautiful bridge. And on another level, we can look at the difficulties in our lives as humbling humility bridges that we're walking across, and that allow us to return to our beloved Lord and to divinity, and allows us to be wiser, and to give more love and receive more love for ourselves. And another thing that can happen is that our shame can come up. The shame, which is really the blocks of the love. The shame that is, we're not good enough. The shame that is, oh, I'm being really judgmental of this. The shame that creates separation. And it ultimately helps us to stay small. But that is underneath the pride often, is the deeper place that is buried inside. And even then, it's God's way of showing us that we're loved. It's God's way of showing us that here is the shame, and now we have an opportunity to sit with that and work through that and bring the qualities into that. And when we're humble, we can embrace it and say, okay, and Allah, we can invite it to our dinner table. And we can say, you're a welcome guest at my dinner table. Whether it's rage that we're being beaten up or attacked, it's or we're being betrayed and there's shame, or we just have conflict and it's frustrating. We can embrace every single aspect of our shadow, and we can move deeper into the secret, through the soul, into those layers. When we really surrender to say, I'm okay, and I'm with God, even in this really deep, dark place. And that is leads us to deepening our experience of humility, and deepening and opening our experience of ultimately the oneness of Allah. And so I'm going to speak a little bit more about humility on a little more of a deeper Sufi path. And I think I'll read from The Reality of the Gnosis just for a second, and then go on to a little bit more, and then do some questions, and also do a guided experience. And okay. So basically, I love this particular paragraph in The Reality of Gnosis on page 91, and it really speaks to my heart. And so when we're humble, the angels work with us differently. The angel poured out from within him what to read, because he was free from everything and sufficed by Allah. And he said, quote, "Read in the name of your Lord," which means by the authority of your Lord, you will now be able to recite the truth. And it means that only the name of the Lord creates and nothing else. In other words, only your Lord creates, and his name is the Lord. The first beneficial lesson that the angel taught the messenger of Allah was the name, the Lord, and then he taught him about the order for the creation to manifest this lordly name, which reveals the meaning of his Salah Allahu alayhi wa salam creation, the name being Allah, the Arabic name for God. And so, and a little bit further down the page, he assembles his knowledge and pours it into you and teaches you by the pen. So I'll just read that again. He assembles his knowledge and pours it into you and teaches you by the pen. So it's a really beautiful gift that God has given us to learn to surrender our ego and to be humble, because then God can just pour God's wisdom through us, and our lives can start to manifest from that place, and we'll bring more peace to the world, and more of the deep adab will blossom in our hearts. And that means that politeness with each other and with all of creation. So when we bring these teachings to our family, our connection becomes more authentic, because we're taking away the masks and the veils, and we're taking away the part of us that feels like we do know what the truth is. So when we're listening to our children or our beloved or a friend, we can be in that space of, I really don't know. And I'm here, and I'm a vessel, and the light can come through. And whatever moves in my heart can come through me to you. And I don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to even know what I'm talking about. I can just, it gives us the freedom to be creative and the freedom to awaken aliveness in us and to transcend the cultural norms that we are facing today, where so many people are championing the opposite of humility in the workplace. It's good to be strong. It's good to know what you're doing, which, it is good to know what you're doing. But it's but at the same time, who is that knower? And obviously, in this path, we're remembering that the knower and the doer, who is what is really Allah and the divine. So we can make deeper change in the world. Within our own hearts, we can receive deeper love through our communities. So I have an example on a deeper level. We're opening to the essence of divinity in the moment, and we're opening our hearts to really receive that light and that abundance and that divine spark that tells us if we should go left or we should go right. It allows us to follow our deeper intuition and our knowing with the law. And it can bring such beautiful gifts. I want to share with you a little story of, but I'm going to be very brief. If anybody would like to know more, feel free to talk to me after. But I was wanting to buy a Christmas tree for my house, but the kind that you plant outside. It's a living tree. And I was wanting to move for myself and go directly to Home Depot to get the tree. But my guidance was taking me along a road that I had never gone along. And I ended up pulled into a flower shop, a flower shop driveway and the parking area, and they were closed. And it was nighttime, so everything was dark. And then I thought, am I crazy? What am I doing here? Why is my guidance bringing me here? And this is all during our time of really being humble and trusting our guidance with Allah. So I was sitting, just doing my practices, doing my prayers, and I had my eyes closed. And all of a sudden I heard this knock. And I opened my eyes and I looked up at the window, and there was a man that was standing there. And I rolled my window down. He said, "What are you doing here?" And so I said, "Well, this is what I'm doing here." And he said, "Oh my goodness, it's amazing that you're guided here. I am the owner of the flower shop. I no longer sell Christmas trees. I live right across the street in this house. I saw you in the parking lot." And he said, "I don't sell Christmas trees because people kill them when they buy them. They don't know how to take care of them." So he proceeded to give me a list of how to take care of my tree so that it wouldn't die, and everything I had wanted to do would have killed my tree. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. This is such an amazing, humbling moment of surrender. It taught me a tremendous amount about the power of divinity and the way God can move through us and the way the angels can guide us. So my mind said, okay, I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to go back the way I came, make a left, and go to Home Depot. And so I was about to do that when I realized it didn't feel right, that something very subtle was pulling me along the road. And I thought, all right, I'll try this again. So I made a left and continued going straight. And then all of a sudden I made another right. and I came the back way to Home Depot, and I had never gone that way before. I knew that that path existed. It was much faster than the other way. And then I could feel like I was being pulled right into the Christmas tree. And there they were, these little guys that were tiny, and they were all bundled up with their roots. And I just felt my heart open. I felt the love go right to this one tree. And I still have it in my yard, in my backyard today. Now it's very, very tall. And I'm just so happy and grateful to have that experience. And I know that on this path, we have experiences like this. And when I really think about the times I don't have experiences like this, and you know, we all grasp after these experiences. When we start to feel these deeper lights moving through us, and we start to feel these deeper levels of integration with the divine, we want that all the time. And we have that all the time, but we want to be conscious of it all the time, and aware all the time. And when I noticed, I thought, okay, you know, I really want this to be that divine slave, to open to that freedom, to really embrace and move from where the divine is bringing me. And I realized that the key for me, and one of the keys for all of us, I think, is humility. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift that God has brought us. And the times that we are humbled, you know, are gifts too. And we can go very deeply even through the pain to get to that place of deeper politeness and connection with the divine, and to release our lordship. So I guess we can either do an exercise, or I can take a few questions. If you guys have any questions before moving you guys into more of that magical divine space, would anybody like to say hello or have any questions for me?
If anybody has a question, just unmute yourself, and if you're on a cell phone, just hit *6.
A question or a comment?
Assalamu alaikum, beloved. It's Zuleika.
Oh, Zuleika!
Hey, hi, sweetie.
You're like this big.
I know, it's so tiny on there, right?
But I think you're wearing blue. It looks like a blue outfit.
Yeah. Maybe this is a segue into what you wanted to do, because I was just wondering if you have any, like exercise or ways to help us get to and develop that ability to get to humility and humbleness.
I do. I definitely do. And I even have quotes from the Quran and quotes from the Bible that I didn't read. But maybe I will a little bit. So being humble it takes the essence of finding our humility is in surrendering to our minds, like we do, our minds to our hearts, and our hearts to our souls, and our souls to our secrets. And then it's all about finding that inner, very deep, still place that's inside of each of us. And wherever that is, we don't have to worry about what station we're at. We don't have to worry about whether we're carrying shame or anything that's negative. For this exercise, all we really need to do is to realize that wherever we are, it's perfect. And wherever we are is right where God wants us to meet God, to meet the divine. And it's our sincerity, and it's our opening, and it's our willingness to just be. And it sounds so simple, but it's a brainwave entrainment process. Sometimes we beat ourselves up, or we feel like God is so far away. Why is God not answering me the way that I want God to. Even when God is really directing us all the time through our hearts, and we are just not certain. So as we have the compassion, self-compassion, and patience to understand that our brains literally rewire themselves through practice and through surrendering, that our brainwave will change as God light comes and touches us. Our energy field will open, and our consciousness will open above us. Some of the darkness and shaitan and everything too is there. But we're allowing the majesty of Allah to just pull us. We're surrendering so deeply into the ocean of Allah's love, and knowing that it's okay if we suddenly have a thought about something else. It's okay if suddenly we feel like there's a dark light that's come and blocked us. And Allah. So it's really about the simplicity of knowing that our brain chemistry is starting to be rewired, and inviting that light all the way in to our pituitary, our hypothalamus, our amygdala. Those are the areas that cause us to have a lot of stress, that take us away. So we're really bringing mind, body, spirit together. And that's what I do in my practice with my patients, is I really help to open them and form like a plug to allow for them to experience their guidance the way that they need to. So I think since you've asked me that question, it will change what I'm thinking about doing, because I think maybe it would benefit people if I kind of showed you a little bit of what I do with myself and with my clients, and we can kind of do a little bit of a group healing, where we together can root into our bodies and open the door to go deeper as a group. How does that sound, Zuleha?
That sounds beautiful, beloved.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to get into position. Okay, so what I like to do and teach my clients is just to place one hand right here on our chests. There's the nerve body, in addition to it being the root of meeting Allah and opening to our soul. There's also a bundle of nerves here that can help us to relax and to surrender. And the more relaxed we are, and the more we say we don't know, the better and the easier the experience will be. And then we can take our other hand and just place it either right above the navel, which is our power center, or right below the navel, and breathe into that area. In Chinese medicine, it's a Tantian, and it's the seat of our energy and our kidney qi and our Jing. And this is really great because we can start to embody the qualities more deeply inside of our bodies. So good. I'm going to start with the Fatiha because I forgot to do that at the beginning of the call. The Fatiha is the opening prayer, and this prayer is asking us to open our souls and our spirits to the divine light. Really, each one of us is so beautiful. You're so beautiful. We're so beautiful. We're so holy. God loves us so much, and we're really all the same. Each one of us is a beautiful, amazing, majestic light that we're just expressing ourselves through these different bodies. But in truth, we're in harmony and in love and with God, with all of us. So as one heart, I'll say the Fatiha, taking a nice deep breath into our lower abdomens, relaxing our neck and our shoulders and our hips. Allahu Akbar. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amen. Good. Surrendering our minds even more deeply to our hearts and opening to receive above our heads and in our hearts and our souls. And I'd like to ask Allah to thank Him so much for every single moment that we're alive on this planet. Every single moment is an opportunity for us to return ourselves back to His love and peace and qualities and unity. Thank you so much for everything that you give. And even when we don't know it, we're receiving Allah's guidance. And thank you so much for guiding us and keeping us safe. And I'd like to ask Allah that you please help us, that you really deeply help us to learn what it means to be even more humble than where we were a second ago. Inhaling and exhaling, and we're so sincere, and we so deeply want to receive your proximity, your blessings, your guidance, your healing, your angels, our angels, and to know ourselves as your face and as your essence. And I'd like to ask that you help us to remember that your guidance is always the guidance of love. It always guides us to the highest outcome, to the safest, and to the happiest place. And as we're humble to receive, we're grateful to receive. Ya Allah, Ya Shafi. So I'm just going to do some rounds of Ya Allah, Ya Shafi. Just asking for God to heal what is ever in us that needs to be healed. We can surrender that back, that need to know back to Allah. And then I may use the quality of Al-Hadi, the guide. We'll just see what Allah makes. Astaghfirullah, Ya Allah, Ya Shafi, Ya Allah, Al-Hadi, 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 Ya Allah, Ya Shafi, Ya Allah, Al-Hadi. Good. Opening even more deeply. Allah loves you so much. Ya Allah, Al-Hadi, Ya Allah, Al-Hadi. Astaghfirullah, Ya Allah. Al-Haq means the truth. Ya Allah, Al-Haq, Ya Allah, Al-Haq. Good. Ya Allah, Al-Haq, Ya Allah, Al-Haq, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Shafi. Good. Surrendering any darkness, any fire. Allowing Allah's light to go into all of our nooks and crannies. Ya Allah, Al-Qadr. You're so beautiful, so holy, so lovable, and so loved by our Creator. Ya Allah, Al-Qadr. Ya Allah. Ya Allah. 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 Ya Allah, Hakim, is the quality of the divine wisdom that I found really helps me to surrender my ego to Allah's ego. Ya Allah, Hakim. And Ya Allah, As-Salam, bring the deep peace anchoring, asking for Allah's peace to infuse our quality of peace, anchoring into the wisdom and the peace of Allah, asking to be Allah's divine slave. We so deeply want to be here to bow to Allah's feet and to Allah to carry us on Allah's coattails and cling to Allah's light and to annihilate into and through the qualities into this beautiful higher consciousness, this beautiful light of love, this beautiful essence. It's always with us, inside of us, just yearning to express itself through us. And just feeling that yearning as we go closer, Allah, God, Divinity, Allahut, love, is yearning to step closer to us, to illuminate our minds so that we know that we're one with each other and with Allah. We can have heaven on earth. Ya Allah, Ya Hakim, Ya Allah, Ya Hakim, Ya Allah, Ya Hakim. Okay, beloved, so coming back to the room, it's 7 minutes after the hour, and just gradually, just giving ourselves a nice big hug from Allah, and anchoring what we received more deeply into our beautiful vessels. And just feeling the love and feeling whatever Allah wants us to feel. I'm so grateful to be with you guys and to have shared with this beautiful moment with your hearts and your spirits, and the love and unity. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope that this has helped inspire closer proximity to Allah. And thank you so much.